Plastics are typically items that are discarded after being used only once, do not go in for the recycling process. This will include ban on manufacture, import, stocking, distribution and sale and use as well of identified items. As per the Environment Protection Act 1986, whoever fails to comply with the provisions may be punished with imprisonment for a term may extend to 5 years. They can also be fined 1 lakh rupees or even both. So a serious effort there. Now a bit of a backgrounder here, because there has been a pushback by industry for quite some time now on this deadline. They've been asking for this deadline to be extended beyond 1st of July, and that hasn't happened yet. Industry has been saying that the alternatives to single-use plastic, especially for items like plastic straws, that seems to be a bump for FMCG companies. The alternatives are expensive. The machines to make paper straws are not available easily, have to be imported, etc., etc. Now that time is gone. How is industry going to grapple with this? Why is it important? And the larger environmental issue, is the ban of single-use plastics actually enough to save us from the menace of plastic? To speak on some of these angles and issues on the subject, I'm joined today by Siddharth G, Program Manager at CSE, Pavan Kumar Singh, GM Marketing at Amul, and Jayesh Rambhia, Co-Chairman, Environment Committee at the Indian Plastics Manufacturing Association. Welcome to all of you, and thank you so much for speaking with us today on the show. Now, Mr. Pavan Singh, let me begin by just getting your take, because Amul actually wrote a letter out to the government saying that please extend this deadline. That hasn't happened. Are you prepared now?
Yes, we are. So we've made all the arrangements to comply with the government guidelines. Obviously, there were some challenges because the entire industry was in transition at the same time. But at this point in time, we have started production of our milk-based beverages in integrated carton packaging with paper straws, as following the government guidelines.
That mean from the consumer point of view and on ground? What is your packaging now going to look like?
So henceforth, the consumers are going to get packaging which is coming out of the production unit now, integrated packaging with paper straws.
And why was there an effort to push the deadline? You've managed well on time, haven't you?
So it's been a huge challenge because the entire industry was in transition simultaneously. So sourcing was the challenge. See, just to make it clear to your viewers, the paper straws that you see in cafes and restaurants are basically the straight paper straws. But the ones we use are U-shaped bent paper straws, which have to be in specific shape, size, and dimensions compatible with high-speed automated packaging lines. So in other words, they have to be compatible with a manufacturing environment. And in India, those sources were not available. So we had to obviously import from different parts of the world. And since everybody was trying to source them at the same time, sourcing was obviously a challenge. But we have been able to overcome those challenges, and we are ready to comply with the government guidelines.
What has it done in terms of increasing your costs? Because this is something manufacturers were already and always worried about. We're talking just about paper straws, but overall in all of the components, when you look for alternatives or you have to move to a different grade of plastic, your costs are going to go up. Can you give us a sense of the cost implications?
Well, yes. Currently, because everybody is transiting and the demand at this point in time exceeds supply, obviously there is an escalation in terms of cost. So when we were using the straws earlier, compared to that, our cost would be more than 4 to 5 times now. In terms of the straws alone.
5 times more. And
Yes.
Are you going to pass this on?
So at this point in time, we've not taken that call to pass on that cost to consumers because, well, we haven't taken that call at this point in time. No.
Okay. So you haven't taken that call at this point in time, but logic dictates that eventually you will have to if you need to continue to be competitive. One assumes.
Well, not really. I mean, what will happen is this is a transition phase. So because demand is more than supply, therefore the costs are high. Obviously, as the domestic production capacities go up, costs are bound to rationalize. So we are hoping that will happen and the costs will remain under control. We will see, wait and watch and look at the developments very carefully and then take a call.
All right. I want to come to Siddharth Singh very quickly, because environmentalists have been making this demand for a while. But is this truly enough? And are you satisfied with the kind of compliance you're seeing so far?
Uh, so Tamanna, we have, I think, written, Center of Science and Environment has extensively written about it, and this is not the first time or near to July that we are shouting that the ban is not enough. Back in August 2021, when the final notification for SUP ban came in, we had tried to point out that the methodology that was used to identify these 19 or 20 or 21 items was lopsided, right? The big brands were not actually getting affected by these ban of single-use plastic items. However, the MSME sector, which is actually into manufacturing a lot of these items, which then passes them on to the FMCG companies, is the one that is going to get affected. So yeah, the ban is kind of limited in its scope. But so far, today we are already in 1st of July, but so far I went out in some stores today. I could still find a lot of these items being used. So yeah.
The question is going to be on how it's really implemented. And of course, large companies, responsible companies like Amul will, implement it on their side, but how will you ensure it overall is going to be an important question. Jayesh Rambhia, the last time we spoke, you talked about how this ban needs to be delayed, the deadline needs to be extended, and how alternatives need to be found. Now, I would ask you today that if you really keep extending these deadlines, industry will not want to find an alternative. It's easier to continue with status quo until you're forced to make a change, isn't it?
Absolutely. We humans are creatures of habits, and we don't change unless we are forced to. But do you realize that our root cause of environmental issue is not plastic? Root cause of environmental issue is India. We Indians are world champion in littering. We are not segregating waste at source. These two single reasons are not being addressed. So today we are talking about plastic pollution. Tomorrow we'll talk about glass cups and paper straw pollution. So pollution is going to remain. The environment problem is not being addressed. And in the process, we are losing the competitiveness of many end user industry. There are nearly 88,000 MSME whose investment up to 39,000 crores is being totally wasted. And even after doing this, we are not going to see a huge change in environmental impact, because for the alternative, we have not studied environmental impact analysis. We have not studied health impact analysis. At the time of Corona, which epidemic is still on, would you like to use a reusable dish or a plate or a glass? We are not sure it was washed properly or not. So such impacts need to be studied for consumer convenience, because 150 crore consumers were being living convenience for life. This product, there's a reason they were existing in the market. And I would like to correct you one thing here. All these products are recyclable, provided they're collected by BMC and given to industry to recycle. Now, even 10 years after the plastic waste management rules, most of the municipalities or urban development departments have not followed through. They are not listening to government, and they're not set up such facilities.
I want Siddharth Singh to just respond to the points that Mr. Rambhia is making, where he's defending plastic. He's saying the problem is not plastic, the problem is the way it's being littered and the fact that it's not being recycled. He also claims that all plastic is recyclable, including the ones that have been banned today. That's something that you had refuted earlier, Mr. Singh. Siddharth.
So yeah, see, this is a classic case of blaming the consumers. Although there are limitations at the consumer end, there are shortcomings in segregation, but putting all the blame on the consumer has been it's kind of has been there for some time now. But these plastics that are banned, let's assume that they are recyclable. But my point is, who will collect that? Yeah, so like all of us here know that the plastic recycling in our country is totally resting on the shoulders of the informal sector, right? There is no formal value chain for collection and taking it up to the recyclers, and even a lot of time the recyclers are not really interested in something that has been contaminated due to XYZ reasons. So the informal sector is not, you will never find a waste picker really picking up a straw or a plastic bag. They'll only pick up things that are valuable to them, right? So that's the entire basis of this ban, that these things that have been banned, do not really get into the collection system. And then from there, it goes to the dump site, it goes into our rivers. So although we believe that the ban is limited, but we also believe that it is much needed, and it is the first step to having a much bigger agenda on the plastic.
Yeah. So, Jayesh, I'll allow you to respond to the points that you wanted to make. But the fact is that major corporations all over the world are moving to better quality plastic, recyclable plastic, and have, clear commitments in place by when they will be doing this. So nobody is trying to defend plastic the way you are today, sir.
Did I ever say that what government has done is wrong or something? We are for environment. I'm very much citizen of this country, and we do want better environment. But if you think the municipalities don't follow through the responsibilities given to them under Plastic Waste Management Rule 2016, and nobody is expecting them to do so, not even environmentalists. They are asking a plastic processor who's paying all taxes, the citizens who are paying all taxes, and they think the plastic processor should collect all this waste. Is it our business? What will municipality do after collecting all these taxes from citizens? So when government is given them responsibility, they are supposed to create the infrastructure. The urban development department
I agree, Jayesh. I agree that municipality should do its job. But is that what we're discussing today?
Unless they
do what we're discussing today.
Do you think it's going to solve the problem? Do you really think if they don't pick up the waste and they don't segregate the waste and they don't recycle the waste and we don't segregate waste at source and we don't stop littering, do you really think this is going to change anything?
So I think it's a multi-pronged problem with a multi-pronged solution. And not, the solution doesn't lie only in one quarter. Yes,
thank you.
Municipalities have to do their job. Yes, we have to force industry to use alternatives. And yes, consumers have to stop littering. All of that has to happen. Today, what part are we talking about? Today, we're talking about the part where industry has had to step in and find alternatives, and we're trying to understand how that will move forward. Now, Mr. Singh, I want to talk to you a bit about alternatives and how we've seen this last minute sort of fight. You talked about how there was this huge demand for these machines which could create the right kind of paper straws, etc. My question is, why was it all left till pretty much the last minute? And why shouldn't industry work towards finding more eco-friendly alternatives to all of its packaging going forward?
So is that addressed to me?
Yes, Mr. Pavan Singh.
Okay. So just importing paper straws is not the only thing we've done.
Yeah.
Just to give you an example, we have also started domestic sourcing of what we call compostable straws. We are just on the subject of straws right now because that's the current topic. So compostable straws are straws which can be degraded. They are degradable, and we have started sourcing them domestically from within India. We are using our own in-house manufacturing capabilities to convert them into shape, size, and dimensions, which will make them compatible for our packaging machines and packaging environments. So that's another thing we've done. Not only that.
So let me ask you the question. So you were talking about, so this is not just about straws. Companies need to do it across product lines. Explain to us how you've done that.
So yes, we were on the subject of straws alone. So in straws, apart from importing paper straws, which we have to import because of the capacity issues within the country, we have also started sourcing compostable straws from within the domestic suppliers, and we are using our own in-house manufacturing capabilities to convert them into compatible formats so they can run on our high-speed packaging lines. That's one thing. Moving away from straws, with Amul ice cream, we give a lot of spoons, okay? And even those are covered under SUP ban. So many months ago, we switched over from giving plastic spoons, and we have been giving for many months now wooden spoons along with our Amul ice cream. So many such progressive steps have been taken by us, and I'm sure by other industry players also, because in principle, we support this issue of single-use plastic ban, and we feel it is in the interest of our environment, it is for the good of the planet, and for a bright and clean future for all of us.
Siddharth Singh, the key questions about sustainable alternatives, though, is a valid one. So is the one about hygiene. And we saw that in COVID-19. Perhaps COVID-19 had a huge contribution to an increase in use of plastics and single-use and disposables for hygiene reasons. There are very few workable alternatives. I mean, even paper straws and wooden spoons cost more. They alter taste. And, you know, in terms of actual consumer use from the manufacturing point of view, they don't do the job that plastic does. Do you think that not enough work has been done to look for viable alternatives?
Yeah, alternatives, as far as alternatives are concerned, there are some issues. But we also need to understand that, you know, most of the alternatives that we find in the market today are targeted for an elite crowd, right? There is some amount of unaffordability and also some issues of unavailability, especially around alternatives. Now, having said that, we also need to understand that India traditionally is coming from somewhere where there was no use of single-use plastic as we were growing up, right? But today, when we talk about alternatives, most of the times my answer is that we've already been there. We already have the answers. We just need to flip some pages and then look at what we were using traditionally, right? There's glass, there's a lot of areca leaves, which will kind of replace a lot of disposable cutlery, right? A lot of new things like the stainless steel straws, right? These are some very small changes that one can make in their life to, you know, actually break the barrier of convenience. Using plastic for convenience now for a very long time, but yeah, I do understand that there are issues around availability and affordability. Now, this will need support from the government and from the industry.
So, you know, I understand what you're saying, Siddharth. I understand what you're saying, that plastic is a relative recent introduction to the human race and in India, etc. But one of the reasons for its rapid and widespread adoption is the convenience it provides. And we are now expecting people to switch away without an alternative which gives them the same convenience. You're asking people to move to something which was earlier and which was not as easy to use. Don't you think it makes more sense to find an alternative which is both safe and as easy to use?
See, again, the alternatives will have to come again from the industry, right? When the industry started using multi-layer packaging to package FMCG products, was it the government that told them to do so? Or was it the consumer that asked them to do so? It was the industry who, for their own benefit, found out that this is a material that we can place on the market and it solves all the purposes, right? Now, I am not ready to believe that there are limited resources, at least in the industry and in the FMCG sector, that, you know, we cannot go ahead and start looking for such alternatives.
Jayesh, you want to reply to that? The fact is that what is cheapest, what is easiest, is what is chosen by industry. No one's really worried about the bigger picture because we think that the environmental mess that's going to come is some generations down. It's not going to be our problem. The fact is that that's what we're moving towards.
See, India is using just 11.5 kg plastic per head per year. We are recycling 60% of it thanks to our rag pickers. So, and US is using 130 kg plastic. They're recycling just 30%. And even today, US is using all the products that we are banning here. They've given their industry
But
much.
how does that matter to us? If
I'll
our rivers are choking, if our rivers are choking, we should be worried about that.
Can I explain? Today, if Europe and America have not been able to find viable alternatives, why are we pushing to our consumers to risk their health, to risk their convenience, to risk their affordability? And here we are in a country where nearly majority of our population lives less than $2 a day. You ask them to buy a stainless steel straw which is costing 150 rupees against a straw which is costing less than a rupee.
That's the point. It is the duty of those who are imposing the rules and of industry to find affordable alternatives. But just saying that others aren't doing it doesn't mean we can shirk our responsibility to our people and the planet. I need to end it here, but I want to thank all of you for joining us on the discussion today.
Thank you.